So it looked like Caitlin Clark is being blamed for the epic fail for the
WNBA just found someone to blame for its CBA collapse. And yes, it's exactly who you think. Caitlin Clark delivered record-breaking viewership, helped fuel a $2.2 billion media deal, and brought mainstream attention the league had never seen before. She did everything a league could dream of. Now, players and media are quietly pointing the finger at her for negotiations falling apart. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And the regret? It's already creeping in. So here's the real question. Will the WNBA ever admit they're sabotaging their own success by scapegoating the very player who helped save the league?
Secret that the WNBA has hostile players, bro. We all witnessed it during the 2025 and 24 season. These players pretty much hate Caitlin Clark with a passion, and I'm here to tell you right now, the hate is growing even stronger because many people in the Players Association and people in the media is blaming Caitlin Clark for potentially being the one holding out when it comes to the CBA not getting.
Let's be clear about what actually happened, because the noise is drowning out the facts. The WNBA Players Association has been negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement with league ownership. Those talks? They haven't gone well. The union is pushing for major revenue sharing, pointing to the league's recent surge in popularity and growth. Owners, on the other hand, are hesitant to lock in long-term financial commitments based on one season of elevated interest. Negotiations stalled. Deadlines passed. Tensions escalated. And now there's real concern about whether the 2026 season even starts on time. That's the situation stripped of spin, emotion, and scapegoats.
People were saying, hey, this could be Caitlin Clark's fault. And before I just flipped and lost my mind, I had to sit and think about it. And you know what, Caitlin Clark, this is all happening and it's your fault. You're the reason. Your greatness, your star power, you are the reason for there being no 2026 WNBA season as of now. Because had you not been such a great player and a big star, these women wouldn't be demanding all of the stuff that they're demanding right now. So yeah, I guess technically it is your fault, I guess. You're too big of a...
And who do certain players and media members choose to blame? The very person whose impact made these negotiations possible in the first place. Caitlin Clark didn't cause the CBA talks to fail. She's the reason there's anything worth negotiating over. Without her, the WNBA would still be operating on the margins, limited mainstream attention, modest TV deals, and little real leverage. She shifted the balance. She gave the league power it never had before. And somehow, this is how some people choose to respond.
Now, word on the street is that the owners is not looking to do that. They telling teams and coaches to move forward with free agency negotiations, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the context of the story is for people to be blaming Caitlin Clark is beyond sinister to me. How could you blame somebody that helped lifted all the boats, helped pretty much get y'all this $2 billion media rights deal, and then turn around and blame her for the things that is happening with the WNBA, blaming the fans that came?
Here's what makes this whole situation especially absurd. Caitlin Clark has been one of the most professional players in the league from day one. She hasn't made public demands during CBA negotiations. She hasn't threatened to sit out games. She hasn't gone on podcasts blasting league leadership or ownership. She stayed quiet and let her game do the talking. Now compare that to union leadership figures who have gone public, including players criticizing WNBA leadership on national television while simultaneously running a competing basketball league. But somehow, Clark is the problem. The players had a chance to strike before Christmas. They didn't. That decision had nothing to do with Clark. It was union leadership weighing leverage, timing, and risk, and deciding the moment wasn't right. Since then, negotiations have stalled. Deadlines have passed. And now there's legitimate concern about whether the 2026 season starts on time. Again, none of that is Caitlin Clark's fault. What's actually happening is simple and uncomfortable. Some players cannot accept that their newfound bargaining power came from someone they openly resent. They wanted growth to happen gradually, organically, through collective effort and established stars. Instead, it happened because one player captured mainstream attention in a way no one in league history ever had. That reality is hard to swallow for veterans who've been grinding for years without seeing anything close to that level of recognition or financial reward, and that's why the scapegoating is so dangerous. Clark didn't create the CBA dispute. Revenue-sharing disagreements exist because the league suddenly has more revenue to fight over. That revenue came from massive television deals. Those deals came from increased viewership. And those viewership spikes happened because Caitlin Clark brought in entirely new audiences. Connect the dots.
Looking good, and for them to be blaming Caitlin Clark, like I stated, is beyond me. I want to know what the hell is going to happen with free agency. That's the only thing I'm really caring about right now, because that's the only story that really matter. I believe there's some type of way the owners could override.
Players aren't rushing to sign anything during this limbo period, and that makes sense. Salary structures, cap numbers, and contract terms could all change once a new CBA is ratified. But here's the key detail everyone's missing. The league is still telling teams to move forward anyway. That alone tells you who actually holds the power in these negotiations. WNBA ownership isn't panicking. Adam Silver and league executives know they have options. They can wait out the union. They can continue operating under existing terms indefinitely. And if things ever reached a breaking point, replacement players remain a theoretical option, a nuclear one, but an option nonetheless. Meanwhile, union leadership is trying to generate leverage through public statements, deadline threats, and media pressure. Blaming Caitlin Clark for any of this is pure misdirection, a desperate attempt to create a villain who isn't even part of the negotiation process. That strategy might fool casual observers. It doesn't fool anyone who understands labor dynamics. What makes all of this so frustrating is that it should be a celebration. For the first time in league history, the WNBA is negotiating from real strength. Television money is legitimate. Sponsorship interest is up. Attendance jumped. Merchandise sales exploded. These are exactly the conditions unions dream of when pushing for better pay and working conditions.
Released a few hours ago, and it stated WNBA telling teams they could send free agent offers amid CBA uncertainty. So it looked like Adam Silver don't give a about none of the players. The owners don't either. They don't care about what y'all talking about. We gonna get a deal done. See, I believe there's a clause some way or somewhere in there to where the owners could override the players. That's what I'm thinking. If they're telling them they can move forward with free agency, that means to tell me we're probably going to get a 2020.
Instead of unity, we're watching infighting and scapegoating actively weaken the union's position. How do you present a united front while publicly attacking the person most responsible for the growth you're benefiting from? How do you build public support when your messaging is incoherent? How do you expect new fans to side with players who openly resent the athlete they came to watch? Those fans aren't sticking around for that. The suggestion that Caitlin Clark might somehow cause the WNBA to collapse is peak delusion. She's the reason the league is more viable now than it's ever been. If negotiations fail or the season is delayed, that's on the people actually at the negotiating table, not a player who's barely involved in the process. The league absolutely wasted momentum from 2024 and early 2025. They had unprecedented attention and failed to capitalize. CBA talks dragged on. Internal divisions spilled into public view. Established players helped create a hostile environment for the very person driving growth. That's organizational failure at multiple levels. Free agency is now stuck in limbo. Most of the league is set to become unrestricted free agents because contracts were structured with a new CBA in mind. That deal never materialized. So now everyone waits. Kelsey Mitchell's situation says everything. She's one of the league's best players and a perfect complement to Clark in Indiana. Her free agency should be simple. Instead, it's tangled up in league-wide dysfunction that has nothing to do with her value. The Fever built something real: Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Hull, Cunningham. Chemistry. Talent. Playoff basketball fans actually cared about. That momentum should be carrying forward. Instead, uncertainty dominates. Add in the poor unrivaled ratings and the conflict of interest becomes impossible to ignore. Publicly attacking WNBA leadership while running a competing league, then negotiating as union leadership, damages credibility, whether people want to admit it or not. Leverage only works if you're willing to use it. Threatening strikes that never happen weakens your position. Public demands ownership ignores make you look powerless. Blaming someone outside the process makes you look petty. The real story here is opportunity squandered. Clark will be fine no matter what happens. Her endorsement deals dwarf her WNBA salary. Her profile extends far beyond the league. If things fall apart, she lands on her feet. The people who won't are the ones blaming her now, veterans whose careers depend on the league's stability, role players whose income relies on continued growth. The 30 on this will be brutal. A league finally gets its biggest star and responds with hostility, jealousy, and dysfunction. The solutions were obvious. Protect your star, acknowledge reality, negotiate efficiently, present unity. None of that happened. And now the regret is setting in. The WNBA blaming Caitlin Clark for its CBA mess is ironic, backwards, and deeply damaging because she's the only reason these negotiations matter at all. And this story? It's not over. It's just getting messier.